Group projects are easy until there are other people involved. Because technically, group collaboration sounds amazing. Shared responsibility, collaborative learning, team bonding, mutual respect, academic teamwork, psychology. But in reality, it's four sleep-deprived students opening Google Docs at 11:47 p.m. while one person says, "Sorry guys, I just saw the messages." Which is impressive because the messages were sent 3 weeks ago. Group project dynamics are basically a social experiment designed to test how quickly teamwork challenges can evolve into psychological warfare. And every group project contains the same species of human beings. First, you have the self-appointed leader. This person watched one motivational TikTok and now thinks they're running a Fortune 500 company. They love leadership in group projects. Mostly the leadership part, not the projects part. They'll say things like, "Okay guys, I delegated the tasks," which actually means, "You do everything while I make the Canva title slide." These controlling personalities and teams survive entirely on fake urgency and Google Calendar energy. Then you have the negative one, the human embodiment of, I don't know about that. Every idea gets shot down instantly. Maybe we could make a presentation? Too basic. What about a video? Too complicated. Okay, do you have any ideas? No. These people contribute absolutely nothing except toxic group dynamics and emotional damage. Then there's the deadweight, the patron saint of social loafing. Deadweights are fascinating because they somehow disappear from every group meeting organization attempt while still asking, "So what are we doing again?" They skip meetings, ignore messages, never read the document, then suddenly reappear 14 minutes before the deadline saying, "Yo guys, what can I help with, brother?" The funeral arrangements. Managing unreliable people in academic group work is basically like trying to nail jelly to a wall. Next comes the procrastinator. Now, to be fair, procrastination in group work isn't always laziness. Sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes perfectionism. Sometimes the human brain sees a deadline and decides to enter a medically unexplained coma. But regardless, these people are why deadline stress exists. They always say, "Don't worry, I work better under pressure." And somehow, under pressure always means the exact moment everyone else was trying to sleep. Then you've got the rambler. This person can turn a 10-minute planning session into a 3-hour podcast episode. You ask, "So who's doing the research section?" And suddenly, they're explaining why bubble tea prices are a reflection of late-stage capitalism. Off-topic discussions are their superpower. Communication breakdown in teams usually begins when one person starts a story with, "This reminds me of something crazy that happened in 8th grade." And then there's the confused one. Honestly, these people make me sad because they genuinely try. But every contribution somehow raises more questions than answers. You ask for 3 bullet points. They upload a PDF in Spanish. You ask for sources. They cite Wikipedia, Reddit, and a guy on YouTube. Low competence in collaboration is hard because you can't even get mad. It feels like yelling at a golden retriever for doing taxes incorrectly. Now eventually, every group project reaches the same stage, the collapse. Nobody knows what's happening anymore. Half the group thinks the deadline is Friday. The other half thinks it's Sunday. One person accidentally deletes the bibliography. Another person rewrites the introduction in Comic Sans. This is where team dysfunction enters its final form. Because group projects are never really about the project. They're about unequal workload distribution. There's always one person over-contributing in groups because they're terrified of failing, while another teammate has contributed one sentence and somehow listed themselves first on the title page, like a medieval king claiming conquered territory. And the worst part? Professors always say group projects prepare you for the real world. Which is true, because the real world is also full of unreliable teammates, confusing meetings, performance tracking, vague teamwork communication, and one manager who says, "Circle back," instead of solving problems. Now, despite all this, there actually are ways to stop group collaboration problems from turning into a hostage situation. The first thing you need is trust building in teams. And yes, nobody wants to do icebreakers. But having a casual hangout before starting the project genuinely helps group cohesion because it's harder to ghost people once you've shared mozzarella sticks together. Then, you need a group contract strategy. Not because contracts are fun, but because accountability systems save lives. You establish team expectations management early. Who does what, response times, meeting attendance problems, deadlines, and responsibilities. That way nobody can suddenly say, "Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that." Delegation strategies also matter a lot. task assignment by strengths is the only reason some projects survive. The design person handles visuals. The writer edits the report. The organized one manages documentation of contributions. And the reliable person gets the important task. Because giving critical work to the procrastinator is like storing fireworks beside a campfire. Mini milestones also help. Milestone-based productivity keeps everyone from realizing the project is slowly becoming emotionally fatal. Small rewards help too. Teamwork motivation increases dramatically when snacks are involved. Human civilization was built entirely on carbohydrates and bribery. Another underrated strategy is subgroup coordination. If two people are handling research, let them split off separately. Smaller meetings improve productivity and teamwork because large group calls eventually devolve into, "Wait, can you hear me? No, you're muted. Who joined twice? Sorry, my Wi-Fi exploded." And if peer conflict in projects happens because it absolutely will, constructive feedback matters. Most people immediately go into attack mode. You never do anything. But problem-solving communication works better when you use we language communication. Instead of, "You're ruining the project," you say, "How can we improve responsibility sharing here?" which sounds less like a courtroom trial. Conflict management in groups also requires root cause analysis in teams. Sometimes the unreliable teammate isn't lazy. Maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe confused, maybe dealing with life stuff, or maybe they really are useless. Could go either way. That's why documentation matters. Track contributions, keep records, use color coding, monitor participation. Because if things completely implode, you need evidence before talking to your professor. Otherwise, it becomes academic courtroom drama. Your Honor, my client would have contributed had they not forgotten the existence of the course entirely. At the end of the day, effective collaboration techniques are mostly just controlled damage prevention. No group project will ever be perfect. Somebody will always disappear. Somebody will panic. Somebody will submit the wrong file. That's tradition. But occasionally, very occasionally, you get a team with good interpersonal skills and teamwork. Everyone communicates. Everyone contributes. Nobody vanishes mysteriously. And for one beautiful moment, cooperative learning strategies actually work. Then, the semester ends and nobody ever speaks again. If you enjoyed this video and survived your own group project trauma, do us a favor and like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more casually explained content. And in the comments, tell us about the worst teammate you've ever had. Everybody has one story that still raises their blood pressure years later.